my name is Martin de Jong. Everywhere, cities want to create better environmental, social and economic conditions and to enhance the city's attractiveness and competitiveness. For these ambitions, a whole range of new terms has entered the policy discourse. Examples are sustainable cities, green cities, digital cities, smart cities, knowledge cities, resilient cities, eco-cities, low-carbon cities, and even combinations such as low-carbon eco-cities. But what is in a name? While the term sustainable city has been widely used since the Brundtland report was published in 1987, and the concept of the eco-city appeared in the early 1980s, promoted by forward-looking architects and urban planners, the low-carbon city, resilient city, and smart city are of much more recent date. These are rather responses to the timeliness of the climate change debate and the growing information intensity of infrastructure development. Anybody reading newspapers and policy reports may come to the conclusion that these terms are often used interchangeably by policymakers, planners, and developers alike. So there is ample potential for terminological fuzziness and confusion. But in reality, they do have different origins, and it is important to recognize that there is some variety in meaning. In this web lecture, we will highlight in a nutshell the main formal characteristics of the sustainable, eco, low-carbon, knowledge, smart city, and finally also the resilient city. Let us start with the sustainable city. The Brundtland Commission's 1987 report, Our Common Future, started using sustainable development as a policy term. This was defined as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. The sustainable city became strongly intertwined with the conception of the triple bottom line, or the three pillars. This implies a close interrelationship between economic, social, and environmental sustainability. Rogers conceptualized the sustainable city as a place where a higher quality of life is realized in tandem with policies which effectively reduce the demand on resources such as energy and materials. Although the triple bottom line has become the most common view of the sustainable city, there are exceptions. Others approach the term from a more environmental angle and propose that it should include indicators for pollution and carbon emission, energy and water consumption, water quality, green spaces, etc. Also, some adopted a more socio-economic interpretation, where social equality, equity, and a green living environment go hand in hand. Number two, the eco-cities. The idea of building an eco-city goes back to the 1970s even, when the Urban Ecology Group was founded, aiming to reconstruct cities in balance with nature. Richard Register is the official founding father. In his book, Eco-City Berkeley, Building Cities for a Healthy Future, he defined the eco-city as one built according to the principles of living within the means of the environmental capacity of the city's bioregion. However, no commonly agreed definition has really emerged up to date. The application is as wide as, for instance, completely carbon neutral and renewable energy supply, a well-planned city layout and public transportation system, resource conservation, water and waste recycling, green roofs, local urban agriculture and job opportunities for disadvantaged groups, and voluntary simplicity in lifestyle. Over time, the urban concept of eco-city has acquired a variety of meanings, of which the ecological may be the main, but certainly not the only one. The adoption of it by mainstream policy and economic organizations led to a softening of the environmental standards, or even its overall incorporation into mainstream real estate development projects. Now let's have a look at the low-carbon cities. In 2003, the UK government issued the UK Energy White Paper, Our Energy Future, Creating a Low-Carbon Economy. The low-carbon economy was defined as one in which society obtains more economic output and creates ways and opportunities to realize higher life standards with less natural resources consumption and less environmental pollution. The low-carbon city and its variants can be seen as a direct response to the more recent climate change debate and the related role of cities. The focus is clearly on minimizing the human-inflicted carbon footprint. Although many authors and policymakers tend to see low-carbon city and eco-city as largely the same thing, the focus in the low-carbon city literature tend to be more on energy issues. The analytical disadvantage of the low-carbon city may be that the concept doesn't comprise environmental and ecological issues other than energy, such as water, biodiversity, and natural resources. However, as we know, energy use touches on almost every aspect of society. Then what about the smart city? The concept of the smart city is quite recent. It can be seen as a successor to the older information city, digital city, or the intelligent city. Defining is not so easy. A city can be defined as smart when investments in human and social capital and ICT infrastructure fuel sustainable economic development and a high quality of life. This is with a prudent management of natural resources through participatory action and engagement. In essence, elaborate and sophisticated ICT facilities are provided all around the urban territory, which allows companies to collaborate and innovate to provide better services to citizens and thereby empowering those citizens. A smart city has 6 main characteristics. One is efficiency and enabling the development of culture and society by utilizing networked infrastructures. 2 is a business-oriented urban development. 3, a strong focus on social inclusion of all urban residents in public services. 4, a significant role of high-tech and creative industries in long-term growth. 5, social and relational capital in city development. And 6, social and environmental sustainability. It is also argued that smart cities consist of the following 6 ingredients, namely a smart economy, a smart mobility, smart environment, smart people, smart living, and smart governance. Now you can imagine that the category smart cities is also popular among large engineering firms because it offers concrete innovation and investment opportunities. It offers engineering systems solutions to urban problems and shifts actually the attention a little bit away from environmental to infrastructure topics. Now let's move on to the knowledge city. Knowledge city has a face resemblance with aspects of the smart city. For example, in information and knowledge-intensive production without environmental impact. However, its theoretical origins are actually quite different. It is associated with the economics of innovation. It's interchangeable with knowledge-based urban development, more economics and less engineering. More recently, knowledge cities have been defined as integrated cities that physically and institutionally combine the functions of a science park with civic and residential functions. However, they lack the emphasis on the central role of ICTs in triggering this development. Modern urban planning began to embrace knowledge-based urban development because of the vital impact on enhancing a region's competitiveness in globalization. In its widest interpretation, the concept of knowledge city not only focuses on the knowledge economy and industrial structure, but it also stresses enriched human capital, a vibrant and diverse social-cultural environment, conservation of the natural environment, a high-quality built environment, accessibility, tolerance, and an acceptance of multiculturalism and social equity. So it has a much wider agenda. Knowledge cities require a strong capacity to establish such foundations with a broad partnership of public and private players, the academic world, and the wider community. In other words, it is a collective innovation process. And then finally, we come to the resilient cities. Resilience means the capacity to resist, absorb, accommodate, and recover from the effects of a hazard in a timely and efficient manner, including the preservation and restoration of its essential basic structures and functions. So basically, when a terrible accident happens, a city must be able to recover quickly in all its main operations. Studies on the resilient city illustrate the various perspectives implied in resilience research. It is reacting to ecological problems, handling hazards and disasters, coping with shocks in the development of urban and regional economies, promoting resilience through urban government and institutions. Now, the academic use of the category resilient city has seen a steady increase since 2008. As I mentioned in the beginning of this web lecture, policymakers tend to use the various terms in rather fuzzy ways, probably depending on their temporary attractiveness and their political agendas. Their practical implications may sometimes be different. However, smart cities tend to have a stronger focus on high-level engineering solutions, knowledge cities on economic development, and eco-cities and large cities on aspects of environmental preservation, while the sustainable city appears to be an umbrella concept covering many aspects. Regardless of the concept used, the city is a complex system and policymakers will have to deal with that in their decision processes. Among other things, they will have to deal with a great many uncertainties, unpredictabilities, and vulnerabilities, to which fuzzy vocabulary will be at most a temporary and partial answer. The devil of problem solving will be in the details of urban and infrastructure development. Thank you for your attention.